Hey guys, it's Jamie from Guildbrook Farm, and I just got back from one of our local meat farms that was having a sale on their ground pork. So I got 20 pounds of it that I'm going to can up today, and I'm going to take you guys along with me and show you exactly step by step how I can ground meat. Now this recipe is going to work whether you're canning ground sausage or ground beef or ground turkey or chicken or any of those things. The only thing that would be a little different is if you're canning some sort of a wild game such as venison. And where you're going to need to add a little bit of fat. But other than that, all the basics, all the regular meats, this is exactly what you're going to do for all of them. Now, why do you want to can ground meat? Well, I go over this in our video, Why We Can Meat, and you guys can watch that video in full, but to give you the quick overview, one, it's going to save you money. Lots and lots of money because you can buy in bulk, and you can can it and store it for later, so you don't have to wait till you run out of something, go to the store and pay full price. Secondly, it's going to save you money because you don't have to run a freezer. You can just store it on your shelf and it will last for a minimum of a year. Technically, it's going to last you for like 10 years or more as long as it stays sealed. And then for the third reason is that it's going to be so quick to throw into any recipe. I actually just opened up a jar of sausage last night, threw it into some tomato sauce, and made an awesome pasta sauce. So it's going to be really convenient for whipping up a quick meal. So I'm going to take you guys along with me as I show you guys how to can ground meat. Alright, so in order to can ground meat, you're going to need a pressure canner. I have an All-American 921 here. You will need a pressure canner to can meat because it is very low acid. And it needs to be canned in a pressure canner. If you guys need a refresher course on how to can, I'm going to link to my Canning 101 video. It's pretty comprehensive, but you will need a pressure canner. Second thing you're going to need is a vat of hot boiling water, which I have on the stove here ready to go. We're going to use this to fill our jars. You can also use tomato juice or broth if you like. I just use water, and then it makes a broth whenever it starts to cook, so I don't worry about adding additional flavors to it. You're going to need a pot to saute your meat in, and then you're going to need your jars. Now you can can this in either pint jars or quart jars. It takes approximately 1 pound of meat will fill 1 pint jar. I like to can in pint jars because I'll use 1 pint in my recipes. It doesn't matter what type of lid you have or what type of opening. This is a standard opening and this is a wide mouth. You can see I'm mixing them here. So it really doesn't matter which one you're using. You're also going to need your lids. If you want to use new lids, that's the preferred way to go. I tend to recycle some old lids sometimes. That's just what I do. If you guys want to play it safe, use new lids, but you're going to need lids either way. And then you're going to need rings to fit each one of your jars. Now, some people like to saute their rings in water. It's just manufacturer preferred. I don't do that. It just helps to soften up the gummy on the lids. I've never had a problem with my lid sealing, so I don't do that. Plus, as you can tell, I kind of ran out of stove space anyway. Just make sure that your lids are clean. And as far as sterilization, as long as you are water bath canning or pressure canning for a minimum of 10 minutes or more, you do not need to sterilize your jars. They just need to be clean. So my jars over here are just clean jars. All right, let's get started. All right, so the recipe that we're going to follow is found on the National Center for Home Food Preservation. I'm going to leave the link to this website down in the description. Make sure you bookmark that link because it's a really good link. It's what I refer to for all of my canning times. And you can see under the procedure that it tells you the instructions for whichever meat that you're canning. And basically we're just going to lightly brown the meat and then can it up. We're going to use water, leaving a 1-inch headspace, and we're going to add a teaspoon of salt because we're going to be canning using the pint jars, not the quart jars. Down below that you can see your process times for depending on which canner you have. Now the top one is for the dial gauge pressure canner and the bottom one is for a weighted gauge pressure canner. You're going to need to know which pressure canner you have in order to follow the instructions. For the All-American, it is a dual purpose canner. It has both a dial gauge and a weighted gauge, but we always refer to the weighted gauge whenever we are using this canner. So for us, we're going to go with a hot pack, pint jars. Process time is 75 minutes. And because we are under an altitude of 1,000 feet, we're going to do it at 10 pounds of pressure. All right, so the next thing you need to know is how much meat are you going to saute up? This depends on the size of your canner. For the All-American 921, it fits between 14 and 16 jars, just depending on if you're using wide mouth or regular mouth. I'm using a mixture here, so I'm going to probably guess it's going to be around 15 jars. So that means I'm going to be canning up about 15 pounds of meat. That means Since I already have 20 pounds of meat, it means I'm going to be doing 2 canner loads. Now, something to keep in mind when pressure canning is it takes usually about 3 hours per load. Just keep that in mind. Make sure that you don't have to run off somewhere, go on an errand in the middle of your pressure canning. Make sure you have that at least that 3 hours to do your pressure canning. Alright, so you can see here that we just lightly browned it. It's actually still a little pink in places. That's okay. It's going to cook completely in the pressure canner. So we just need to brown it just a little bit. And now we're going to add it to our jars. So we're going to use a slotted spoon so we drain out a lot of the fats. Because fat can prevent it from sealing. And you're just going to fill your jars up to the 1-inch mark. For those of you that don't know what the 1-inch mark is, it's usually this bottom ring here. If you have one of these bubble tools, it has like little steps on it and it'll tell you 1 inch. So you can rest that right on your jar and it'll tell you right where to fill it up. Alright, so now I'm going to add a teaspoon of non-iodized salt to each one of my pint jars. If you were doing quart jars, you want to do 2 teaspoons, but salt is completely optional. You don't have to use salt at all. Just make sure you're using non-iodized. It's the preferred type of salt for canning. I think the main reason is mostly because it prevents cloudiness. Now we're going to fill our jars up with boiling water. And again, you're still going to leave that 1-inch headspace. Now I'm just going to take my bubble remover tool and I'm just going to go around the inside of each of the jars. And this is going to remove any bubbles and also help pack some of the food down. And you might find you need to add a little bit more water as the food settles. Or broth or juice, whatever you're using. This one needs a little bit more water. So I'm just going to top that off. So does this one. Alright, now we need to wipe the rims off, and I like to use white vinegar for this. It helps to remove some of the grease a little bit better than just using water. So just go around each of the rims. And this is important because it removes some of the grease and any food so that the rings will, or the lids will seal. Now we just put our lids on. You can see these are recycled ones. And you can use the recycled ones as long as there's no dents in the side and that the rubber's still all there. But again, that's only if you want to do that. And now we put the rings on. Finger tight. And we can place it in the canner. These jars are pretty hot, so you might need to use a towel. So there's 8 pint jars in there. I'm going to put another 7 or 8 on top. So I need to put the separator in next. And we'll stack our second row on top. So for those of you guys that want to be extra thrifty, you can actually save the drippings from whatever meat you're cooking, and you can skim the fat off the top and use that for cooking in some future recipe. And I'm going to leave a link to our saving drippings up above, and that's what you're going to see me doing here. And we're just going to put that aside. Alright, so now I'm going to start my second batch of ground sausage in my pot. My pot's not big enough to hold all of it at one time, so I do it in batches. This is going to sit in here while I cook the next batch. We're going to put another 6 or 7 pounds in here, and then we should have enough to start the canner. Alright, now that our canner's full, we're just going to line the rim of the canner with olive oil. This just prevents it from sticking. And you can do this in advance too, if you think of it. I kind of forgot. And now you just put the lid on by lining up the arrow with the notch and locking it. And using the opposite toggles. You're just going to lock it down, finger tight. Alright, now I'm just going to turn my burner on 8. Now my burner goes from a scale of low, which is 1, all the way up to high, which is 10. I'm going to put it on 8, and we're going to let this come up to temperature, and it's going to start to vent. You're going to start to feel steam coming out of this hole. We're going to let it vent for 10 minutes before we put any weights on. So I'll see you back in a few minutes. All right, it's been about 20 minutes, and you can start to feel that, that this vent is starting to vent. You can run your hand over it and feel the hot air coming out, and you can hear it hissing. So right now we're going to time this for 10 minutes. We're going to allow it to vent for 10 minutes. Alright, it's been venting for 10 minutes. Our timer went off. Now we're going to add the weight on. Again, this is only if you're using this particular type of canner, which is a weighted gauge canner. And because of my altitude, I'm going to put it on the 10. And you can see that the pressure started to come up a little bit as we were venting, but now we're going to wait for it to come up to 10. Once it gets up to 10, that is when we're going to start our timer for 75 minutes. Remember, 75 minutes was for processing pint jars. So we'll do an hour and 15 minutes as soon as that gets up to 10, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on it to adjust the temperature to make sure it doesn't go too high and to make sure that it doesn't fall below 10. Alright, so our weighted gauge started rattling. Now's the time to set our timer for 1 hour and 15 minutes. You can also tell from the visual guide that it is above 10 psi. That's what it needs to be for our particular location. And right now we just need to keep an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't go too high and it doesn't drop below 10 psi. So I'm going to drop my burner temperature down to 6. And I'm just going to keep an eye on that gauge, because if I kept it on 8, it's just going to continue to rise. And I want to make sure that it stays right around that 10, 11 mark where this is rattling about 4 times a minute. So we're just going to keep an eye on this for like the next 15 minutes or so, and it'll start to stabilize. I'll probably end up having to drop the temperature again to somewhere around 4, but it'll start to stabilize, and then you can just let it go for the full 1 hour and 15 minutes. All right, our ground sausage has been cooking in the pressure cooker for about an hour and 15 minutes now. All we're gonna do is just turn it off. You don't wanna remove the weight. You just wanna turn it off, and we're gonna wait until this gauge gets all the way down to 0 before we do anything else. All right, you can see that the gauge is now down to 0. Now it's okay to remove the weight. And we're just going to allow it to vent for another 10 minutes before we remove the lid. All right, our sausage is done. Everything's vented. Now it's time to remove the lid and see what we have. But before we do that, I'm gonna cover our countertop with a cloth because we're gonna set our jars on here. So the same way you put the lid on, you're gonna take the lid off. Opposite toggles. And you're going to turn it a half a turn or a little bit to the left, and then just make sure you vent it away from you so you don't get steam burn. And then we're just going to take out our jars. I usually get a knife or something to remove this separator because it's hot. And that's it, guys. Our sausage is completely canned. It's completely cooked. We're gonna let it sit here on the countertop for 24 hours or until all the lids are sealed. So sometime tomorrow, I'm gonna come back, check all the lids, make sure that they're all sealed, make sure that they're all indented. I'm gonna remove the rings from each one, and then with soapy water, I'm going to wipe everything down, and then I'm gonna mark the tops with what it is, which is sausage and the date. Here's a jar that I canned back on 9/16. This is what it's gonna look like after it sits for 24 hours. You can see it'll have a nice layer of fat on top. That's just from the sausage. And this is ready to eat right out of the jar. So you can open this up and eat it right away. So a lot of people are confused about this and think it needs cooked. It's already been cooked in the pressure canner. So this is ready to go. And as far as this fat layer, if you want to scoop that off and save it and use it for cooking, you could do that. Now, somebody had asked, what makes these so shelf stable? Why can these sit on a shelf as opposed to going into a refrigerator? And the answer to that is that it's microorganisms that cause food to go bad. So when you pressure can, you are essentially killing off those microorganisms, or when you even water bath can, you're creating an environment where those microorganisms can't exist. So low oxygen, high acidity, or in this case where it's high heat that kills off the microorganisms. It's the same concept as if you're buying canned tuna off the shelf. So it's good to eat right off the shelf. So these are all good to go. These will last, according to the USDA, the time stamp on them is 1 year, but there are people that eat them 5, 10, 15 years as long as it stays sealed. You can hear my jars pinging in the background. So as long as these stay sealed, you open it up and you smell it, it smells good to you, nothing looks off about it, then they're good to go. So I hope this has been helpful to you guys. Again, this is for canning any kind of ground meat. It can be beef or turkey, anything. This is how you do it. Super simple, super easy way of whipping up a meal, and also for long-term food storage. I hope it's been helpful to you guys. If you guys have any tips or tricks for canning ground meat, leave them down below. And if you have any questions, I am by no means the expert, but I'll try and help answer your questions, or other people reading them can also help answer. Leave those down below as well. And if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. We have more canning recipes coming out. See you guys in tomorrow's video. And what, and the dip. I'm going to leave that link down.